welcome to the April issue of the Flatcar Developer Sync. In the Developer Sync, we review our roadmap and our line work and are open for discussing any work or any issues that folks are currently tackling. I will be guiding you through this meeting today, and we'll start with a brief look on our contributor statistics. So let me share my screen. Here we go. And this is our monthly contributor report, which I'll just briefly touch in a second. First of all, we have a lot of first-time contributors this month, so this is pretty awesome. We had folks contributing to the website, that's Till and AS Lonnie here, but also to a significant part of the Flatcar, of the part that boot and configure the Flatcar virtual machine is done by Apricot here, and some amendments and extensions to the scripts repo, which is the core OS repo, and one contribution to the bakery. So that's pretty awesome. Great to see the increased traction here. Okay, so on overall, we had 32% of active contributors being new contributors in the last month, and that's pretty amazing. Not much happened in terms of discussions, so that basically remained kind of the way it is. We tackled quite a few advisories, staying pretty positive on the advisory reaction time. More on that in the security review with Dongsu right after I'm done with the contributions. Closed quite a few advisories. And in terms of issue metrics, we continue to tackle incoming issues. We're currently somewhat at level, so we're able to cope with the incoming issues and not have the issue count increase significantly, but we're also currently not able to lower them significantly. So if you want to jump in and grab an issue, there's your chance. Also, a lot of PRs went in. So this is basically almost 100 PRs merged. This is mostly updating the packages, but also a lot of stuff added to the bakery and a little bit on website and docs. And that was where the first contributors came in. Right, so I'm gonna switch to Dongsu now for the security review.
Yeah, I'm not going to share my screen, just briefly mention the recent security issues. So only 4 new issues, 8 new issues were opened and so closed. So that's pretty much the usual status. And one of the highlights was of course, XUtils backdoor issue. So Flatcar was fortunately not affected by that because Flatcar used 5.4.6 before the last release, and 5.6 only 5.6 included that backdoor of XUtils. However, to be able to sync with upstream Gen 2, we downgraded XUtils to 5.4.2 to be able to be very cautious about that. Yeah, that was already included in the last release. That's it.
Thanks, Dongsu. The thing I entirely forgot is the introduction round, and because Shui joins us for the first time, maybe we just briefly rewind and pretend the meeting just started. Shui, do you want to give us a quick intro?
Hi, yep, I'm James, better known as Chewy. Been a Gentoo developer for quite a few years now. I've just joined Tilo's team, so I'll be helping to maintain Flatcar amongst other things. I've just been reading the docs today, so just getting started really.
Awesome, thank you. All right, checking the next item in the agenda, ongoing and planned task review. I'm gonna skip the look at the roadmap today because there aren't many roadmap items currently being moved. So it's just business as usual, and we're focusing on line work. We actually pushed a lot for the small maintainers team. We are on feature roadmap items in the last months, and we're now focusing more on line work and on automation. There's a little bit of technical depth which we need to get on top of, and that'll be our focus in the next months. So no news on the roadmap side, but we have quite a few news on the Systemd-sysext special project. Kai.
Yeah, so we had this topic for the last calls as well, always like a small focus on the current things that are ongoing. And now I think it makes sense to make a small summary of what landed in stable this year, and also what we did last year, and then what lies ahead now to base on this. Also, there was a recent edition in Alpha that's something new. So maybe I will start a bit from the beginning. So as you know, Flatcar has this AB updated image-based OS where /USR is read-only, and we have a compromise to find for user demands and the image size. And so that means, for example, that we have like certain things on the image that happen to be there because of user requests that were listened to, and then there are other things that are missing that you would normally find on a Linux box you land on via SSH or whatever. So, and the Flatcar project is now, because it was like the continuation from core as container Linux, more than 10 years old, you can say. And I think this is one of the main areas where we are currently innovating and finding new solutions to that are outside of the previous compromises that we had to choose. And so the first topic is user-provided software, where Systemd-sysext is a nice way of overlaying additional binaries on top of /USR, so it stays kind of read-only. And at provisioning time, we have an overlay amount that extends the OS, and this will feel very integrated, almost like a package manager where software is feels like really part of the OS. And in the past, what we had to do was put binaries under /opbin, and then you have to keep track of them for updating. And there was a special mechanism in Flatcar that is called talks, and that was only for kind of switching the Docker container versions, because that was a very common thing in the early days of Kubernetes, that you had a particular Docker version that you had to use, and then that kind of was one way where it was more flexible. It was not an overlay amount, but the results were kind of similar, but not as well as integrated as what we can do with Systemd-sysext nowadays. So that's why talks got removed, and in Flatcar stable, there's only Systemd-sysext now. And the inbuilt Flatcar Docker and container versions are actually just sysext images, so that users can disable them, and like Docker and container will completely disappear, so that they can bring their own container runtime versions without like running into conflicts. And so what we also recommended users to do from the point when Systemd-sysext was available was that they can use Systemd-sysext to deploy their own host level software that kind of was used previously under /bin, and then now they can have it be integrated better, and you can update it more easily in an atomic way. So that's something that existed for a longer time, and we kind of improved this by having the sysext bakery GitHub repository, where we have some build recipes to build your own sysext images from upstream release binaries, because they are kind of independent from the Flatcar OS version. That means they can't use dynamic linking. And the upstream release binaries are normally built in a way that they can run on different distros, so various distros. So that's a good approach, and we don't have a complex build system to maintain as well. And users recently contributed more build recipes there for K3S, Wasm Cloud, and so on. And this repository also has Systemd-sysext configurations that you can refer to in the ignition config when you set up Flatcar nodes. And this way, the extensions stay up to date with their own life cycle. And because that's such a nice mechanism, we also want to bring this to the Kubernetes cluster API project. So Mathieu already talked about this in the last dev things as well. Like the main thing we can point people to is this capo Flatcar sysext variant, where you can have vanilla cloud images as published by the Flatcar project, and then you overlay Kubernetes binaries at provisioning time. And then if you want to, you can also in place update Kubernetes binaries through the sysext Systemd-sysext mechanism. So, and what was added in the last month is that we have the OEM software that used to be on the OEM partition, holding cloud vendor tools needed for integration with the different public clouds. And this is now available as Systemd-sysext image, and this migration is kind of transparent to the user. But the nice benefits users have now is that this cloud vendor tool problem of not being updated is now solved. So in the past, people sometimes ran into incompatibilities because their cloud vendor tools were too outdated, and now they are kind of bound to the Flatcar OS version and always kept up to date with this AB update mechanism that we have in Flatcar. That means rollbacks also work well. And so they are provided as additional updates payloads by our update server. And based on this AB update mechanism and the coupled extensions, we thought we can make Flatcar now more modular and have some kind of composable image stack for the OS. And the first optional Flatcar extension that was introduced in the last alpha release was the ZFS extension for this out-of-tree kernel file system. And we kind of want to extend this and cover more CLI utilities you normally have on a Linux machine. Also, we want to provide a Podman extension. Mathieu has an Incus extension pull request open. We want to use this to also provide the NVIDIA kernel driver modules, and maybe even look into splitting out some parts of Flatcar that were on the base system because of historical reasons, but I think they don't really have to be there, and could be extensions to kind of also reduce the size of our base image. And So why this is currently available in Flatcar stable and alpha, not everything is perfect. There are some rough edges in the Systemd-sysext and the way it currently is used. And yeah, some things are to be solved upstream. Some things can be done downstream, or we could first try them out downstream and then upstream it. And like a small summary would be that we want to set up the overlay mount more early from the initRD so that special settings can take effect directly after boot, and no workarounds are needed to apply this later in the boot. And another one is atomic remount. When you reload the extensions, they are shortly all extensions are gone, and ideally this would be atomic so that services can keep running, and you don't have this disruption of a service just because you want to reload another extension.
I think
And
I think we
yeah.
even did that for the WASM demo, right? I remember doing something like that for Ralph Scilacci's WASM demo, so that only the services that actually got updated were touched or something like that, but I might be mistaken. Not sure.
Yeah, so currently, because the binaries disappear, the service will be terminated. While the new overlay mount is set up, and there's this new like mount beneath API in Linux 6.5, which we can use to make this atomic.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good point.
And yeah, then there are some also like smaller issues as well about Systemd-sys update, for example. And that adjacent to the /user mount, we have the etc mount in Flatcar that is currently an overlay already, and the Systemd-convext feature does the same thing as Systemd-sysext just for etc. And we can make use of that to migrate our custom overlay to be a convext image, so to say. And because we still want people to have a writable /etc, Crashmere contributed this mutable overlay mode for Systemd-sysext and convext. And yeah, that way we can kind of provide the default OS files in the underlay. They get up copy to the original etc directory when the user modifies them. Otherwise, they are kind of always updated. And a nice side effect of this mutable overlay mode is, of course, that traditional distros can use this for their /usr, which must stay writable for the package manager. And this way we can make Systemd-sysext and convext more accessible outside of Flatcar as well. Yeah, so mainly upstream improvements, but also with some downstream integration work and yeah, new extensions for Flatcar. So
Awesome.
that's the summary.
Thank you. Something I've heard people mention a number of times is documentation. So I think a big kind of opportunity for folks wanting to engage with Flatcar development-wise or otherwise is taking a look at the new sysext stuff, which is pretty approachable as soon as you get the hang of it, and even ping us on metrics for details, and then help us out with documentation on the Flatcar website. So that would be very, very welcome. I guess we should go ahead and create a few issues on that go into detail. I see Chewy having a question.
Yeah, is there any concern for these sysext images pulling in conflicting dynamic libraries?
Yeah,
Yes.
so it's currently yeah, it's a concern, and it's of course not wanted that this is done. But there are no nice tools at the moment to check with this. So like there's no sysext linter or kind of merge flag where you can tell only merge if there's no clash or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
This is actually this is on the wish list of folks in the UAPI group that wants pushing sysext and otherwise related stuff, that there would be a mechanism on either on the kernel file system level or a lightweight thing in the user space that you can actually check for file conflicts in overlay file systems. But for now, it's only a wish. So if anybody has an interest in tackling this on the overlayfs kernel side or similar, then I guess there's a huge interest from the whole image-based Linux community on getting this done. All right. Then I'll hand over to Cyan for the tactical. Cyan, do you want me to share my screen or do you want to do it yourself? Cyan can't turn on his mic. That is a impediment. So I'll help out and share my screen again and then briefly walk through the tactical. And so that's basically air, food, water stuff, things that we're doing to keep the project going. And here's our planning board. So right now in progress are a number of vendor support items, which is amazing, particularly because we're getting feedback from the vendors themselves and help from engineers who work for those vendors working on the vendor support. Then there's Adrian taking care of Hyper-V. We already mentioned the mutable mode for Systemd-sysext. That's almost done. We're going to close it as soon as a new version upstream of Systemd releases. We already included in Flatcar with custom patches on top of Systemd 255. Akamai, another vendor here. Some maintenance things with vendor support, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And ongoing releases. Dongsu, would you be willing to briefly cover the releases since Cyan is a little bit impedimented today?
Yeah. Yeah. Last week we did the release for all channels, so LTS, stable, beta, and alpha. And yeah, as I mentioned, we downgraded XUTS version to 5.4.2, and also added some cloud provider support with Scaleway. Yeah, and other than that, that was pretty much just as usual. Next release would be happening in the third week of May, as usual, and we are currently adding some items to that, and yeah, that's pretty much what I want to say here. And one of the issue is what I want to mention is we cannot update Go version as well as Docker version for 2 months now, because Go 1.20 is already EOL and we are using 1.20. However, upstream Go does not publish security updates for 1.20 anymore, and we should actually update to 1.21. However, there are 3 blockers: Docker, Containerd, and runc. And Containerd 1.17.7.14 already updated Go version, so that is not a blocker anymore. But Docker and runc are still blockers. So runc, probably we can run some CI for Go 1.21 with runc and check if that really works or not. That should be one of those straightforward items. However, Docker is not so easy. So several months ago, Krishmir already tried to update Docker version from 24 to 25. However, he failed because of the storage driver issue. Not sure how we should proceed here. So yeah, if anyone is interested, yeah, feel free to jump in.
I'm just naively wondering what the problem is, because I've set up my new Gentoo machine and I'm running like Go 122 with all the latest stuff, and it's fine. Obviously, I'll find out in time why Flatcar is different.
The main Docker issue is that a few Docker storage backend drivers have been phased out officially with Docker 22 and Docker 23 already. And they're still there in Docker 24, even though officially they shouldn't be there, but they're still shipping them with Docker 25. Those are entirely removed. One of those storage drivers is the ButterFS storage driver. So there was formerly the ability to not use OverlayFS, but ButterFS, I think, snapshots or something for Docker container storage. And there was a special driver in the Docker daemon to actually deal with that. So you would basically use a ButterFS partition for varlib wherever Docker stores its stuff, and then it would make use of that. For newer Docker versions, you would need to activate this explicitly, and for Docker 25, it is not there anymore. If you have long-running instances that have been updating, well, for years, basically, then, and you're using this storage backend, what will happen if you update on the new to the new version is your node will come up and Docker won't find any container images because that storage backend isn't supported anymore. So, I mean, since this is some upstream nastiness that at some point in time we just have to give downstream to the users just for them to stay up to date, we probably need just to be loud about it, put it in alpha, and then at some point put it in beta, but also shout out that we need to update to Docker 25 because Go and because security. Unfortunately, if you're using the ButterFS backend on your nodes, that will mean a little bit of maintenance overhead for you down the road. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so and the compiler issue might not be there, but in the past it was sometimes a bit tricky when we compiled Docker or runc with different Go versions for newer versions. Then those officially supported by the Docker or runc projects, then we ran into strange issues because there were some regressions around signal handling and whatever, but might be okay to just update and look at the tests and so on. But yeah, so that is why we have this kind of coupling between the Go compiler and Docker version, runc version.
So this is amazing. It's part of navigating a entirely customer and user focused operating system, but it's fun. I like my place here. All right, folks, that was the
hopefully people moved to containerd in between.
Well, I don't know. I hear a lot of folks, particularly folks operating smaller deployments, to keep requesting Docker Compose, and the Docker Compose sysext from the bakery actually is pretty. It's pretty famous. So yeah, who knows? The like shrinking the operating system and publishing everything as a sysext thing down the road may even resolve those issues, because we would just ship the upstream Docker binaries, just as Matthew mentioned in the chat. So that would be eventually a path forward, but right now we're far from that position, unfortunately.
I would like to say something about the Systemd-sysext bakery. At the moment, I was doing Kubernetes, installing Flatcar, using the Kubernetes Systemd-sysext extension, and at the moment it just disappeared and my deployments were not working anymore. Yeah, because and should we create like a separate repository which is outside GitHub for the builds, for the bakery builds at the moment?
Did like a specific version of Kubernetes disappear from the bakery? Or
I think Mattia knows more about that. I don't know how happened. I think 1.27 Kubernetes.
Yeah, but it's an old issue actually. It's the one we discussed when we met.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been solved since this day. Now we release every release of Kubernetes and we try to keep them and to prevent to be removed between each release. So you should get this issue anymore.
Okay.
This is another nice opportunity for me to share my screen. 1 second. So there's only one release ever for the bakery, and that is latest, and that's because this gives us a stable URL with the sysext to download to. And you see that like a number of versions are released here, right? So we would basically just re-release binaries we've built with previous releases and put them on here. If there is a specific version that you absolutely need pinned because you're relying on that, there's a text file here called release build versions. So you just issue a PR to that text file, and it's basically just a simple list that also allows comments, and you can pin versions that you absolutely require, that you absolutely need, by just adding them to this text file, and then they will always be ensured to be part of every release.
Okay. Can you go back to the release page, the latest? So
Yes.
what I see there is that in 1 year or maybe less, it will become pretty cluttered with a lot of versions, right? So I was thinking that maybe a nice HTTP repo would be preferable for long term, where we have folders for each sysext. I'm talking about the maintenance of this list, right? And having it more, let's say, structured.
Yeah, that I think down the road that would make sense, particularly now that we're seeing increase of use of the bakery. So yeah, I think long term, it's probably I like this, like the way this is, because it kind of demonstrates that you only need a single GitHub repo and kind of automated releases in order to fully maintain like a GitOps thing with your own sysexts. But I mean, you're right. We probably want some history of that, and that's best solved via a separate HTTPS server.
Yeah, because I saw that there are 3 PRs incoming and maybe more that will keep their own versions,
True. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's good to see that this gains in popularity, but yeah, I think at some point this stuff needs to be hosted elsewhere. So that's good input.
Yeah, or we can have different GitHub releases for each software, so that you have like you click on the release and then you only have the Kubernetes binaries or only the K3s binaries.
Yeah,
That could maybe help with it. Otherwise, I think in the README we can have a table that says what is available and what is the like first version and the latest version or whatever.
That's another good possibility. Yeah, that's a good point. Anyways, this requires thinking, and at some point we just hit the wall with the way we're currently releasing. So both comments are good input.
Thanks.
All right, folks. Anything else you want to discuss before we close this meeting?
Yes, if that's okay with you, I'd like to take 2 or 3 minutes to give you a status update of a new platform for Flatcar.
Oh, right. Yes, absolutely. You've been doing great work there.
Yeah, I forgot to mention it in the discussion, but yeah, let's do that quickly. Okay. So we started recently last month, we started to bring new platform for Flatcar to answer some community demand. So you can find there's issues tracked with the label platform/new-platform. So this is how we track the new platform for Flatcar. And I will try to give a brief overview of the update and the status of each provider. So for Hetzner, we got some community contributions in the last weeks for bringing and testing Flatcar images on Hetzner. So you should get Hetzner images in the next alpha and beta, in the next release. Then we have some contributions on Linode. So CoreOS Ignition and CoreOS Afterburn have been patched to support Linode. So now we just wait for official release from the upstream to get them merged into Flatcar and to distribute Linode images for Flatcar. For Scaleway, it's already available in alpha and beta. You can already get the images and deploy them on Scaleway. I draft documentation to show you how to deploy things on Scaleway using the Flatcar images. But yeah, Ignition and Afterburn works correctly, so you can deploy things as usual on Scaleway. For KubeVirt, there is an issue, but no one started to work on this. So if you are interested to see how it works and to do this contribution, feel free. I think it's a low-hanging fruit, but as usual, we don't know what's behind. But yeah, that should be quite simple to do to publish KubeVirt images. For Brightbox, as you've seen in the last office hours, the support is total and official on Brightbox 2. There is a getting started and a blog post from Brightbox if you want to read about it. Proxmox, it's still in development for Ignition and Afterburn, so there is some ongoing discussions if you want to try or to have a look to what's going on inside the Proxmox support for Flatcar. And Hyper-V, Adrian did some contribution in the last release, and we also have some documentation if you want to try out this new platform. So yeah, that's it for the platform overview.
I will look into the KubeVirt. I've been doing a lot of stuff recently.
Awesome.
On Flatcar.
Cool, thanks, Matthew. Yeah, that was an opportunity to give an overview. I really like kind of the influx of new platforms and help with new platforms that we got, particularly after KubeCon. So it was great connecting to folks there. And so I was attending a small conference in Nuremberg last week, and I had a Flatcar talk there, and I had a single question from the audience, just one. And the question was, when is Flatcar being available on Hetzner? So we now have an answer to that. Love it. All right, folks. Anyone else want to bring up anything in the meeting?
Tomorrow I'll be at KCD Bucharest presenting about bare metal and Kubernetes and Flatcar.
Amazing. Awesome.
Is it recorded, or do you know if there is a live stream?
Probably yes.
Okay.
Live stream, I do not know yet.
And the talk will be in English, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything, yeah.
Awesome. That's great news. All right, folks, let's close up. See you back in the May issue of the Community Office Hours.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining. Bye.
Bye.
Oh.